Commander Sarah Chun pressed her face against the observation deck's reinforced glass, watching the sleek alien vessel dock with their research station. 3 months they'd been negotiating this first contact through long-range communications. 3 months of careful translation protocols and cultural exchange briefings. Now, finally, the Veltar delegation was here. "Remember the protocols," Director Walsh's voice crackled through the CUM system. "No direct physical contact. Their biology is still largely unknown to us." Sarah nodded, though her attention was fixed on the graceful movements visible through the alien ship's transparent sections. The Veltar moved like dancers, their elongated limbs flowing with an otherworldly elegance. Their skin seemed to shimmer, with an inner light shifting between deep purple and silver depending on the angle. The airlock cycled, and the delegation emerged into the station's main corridor. Sarah counted 5 individuals, each wearing what appeared to be ceremonial robes that left their arms and hands exposed. The leader stepped forward, removing a translation device from within her robes. "I am Zarath, speaker for the Veltar Collective," the device translated her melodic voice into crisp English. "We come seeking knowledge and understanding between our peoples." Director Walsh stepped forward with practiced diplomatic composure. "Welcome to Research Station Kepler. I am Director Walsh, and this is Commander Chun, our head of xenobiology." Sarah felt a strange sensation as Zarath's large, luminous eyes focused on her. There was something hypnotic about their swirling patterns, like looking into a galaxy of stars. The Veltar leader tilted her head in what might have been curiosity. "Your species fascinates us, Commander Chun," Zarath said, her translated words carrying an odd weight. "We have studied your transmissions, your art, your stories. Such violent histories, yet such capacity for creation. Such fragile bodies, yet such resilient spirits." "We're eager to learn about your people as well," Sarah replied, noting how the other Veltar delegates remained perfectly still. As if waiting for some signal, Zarath moved closer, and Sarah caught a faint scent like ozone in flowers. "There is something we must tell you about our kind, something that makes this meeting complicated." The delegation exchanged what Sarah assumed were meaningful glances. Their leader continued, "We are what you might call a cursed species. Our touch brings death to all living things. It is not intentional, not controllable, it simply is." Sarah felt the weight of the room shift as the human delegation processed this revelation. Director Walsh cleared his throat nervously. "That explains the no-contact protocols you insisted upon." "Indeed," Zarath confirmed. "We have learned to live with this burden. Our entire civilization is built around distance, around careful separation. We love through words, connect through minds, but never through touch. To do so means death for any living being we encounter." Dr. Martinez, the station's chief medical officer, leaned forward with scientific interest. "Is this some form of bioelectric discharge, a toxic secretion?" "We do not fully understand it ourselves," Zarath admitted. "Our scientists believe it relates to the energy that flows through our bodies, the same force that gives us our abilities in mathematics and dimensional manipulation. Life force simply drains away when we make contact." Sarah watched the alien delegation, noting the subtle sadness in their postures. To be forever isolated by their own biology seemed like a terrible burden. "How do you manage relationships?" "Families? We reproduce through shared mental energies," one of the other delegates spoke for the first time. "Our young learn to maintain distance before they can walk. We have rituals of bonding that require no physical presence. It is our way." The tour continued for several hours, with the Veltar delegates showing remarkable interest in human culture and biology. They seemed particularly fascinated by human emotional displays and the way humans casually touched objects, leaned against walls, brushed past each other without thought. "Such casual contact," Zarath observed as they passed a group of human researchers sharing a meal. "To us, every gesture you make would be fatal to those around you, yet you live in such harmony with touch." As the formal meetings concluded, Sarah found herself walking alongside Zarath toward the docking bay. The other delegates had moved. ahead, but the Veltar leader seemed to linger, as if reluctant to end their conversation. "Commander Chun," Zareth said softly, "may I ask you something personal?" "Of course. Do you ever feel isolated? Even surrounded by others who can touch you?" The question caught Sarah off guard. She thought of her recent divorce, the growing distance she'd felt from her family back on Earth, the way command responsibilities kept her at arm's length from her crew. "Sometimes," she admitted. "I think everyone feels alone sometimes, even when they're surrounded by people." Zareth stopped walking, her luminous eyes studying Sarah's face. "Perhaps that is why I feel such kinship with you. Despite our different biologies, we both understand the weight of separation." Without thinking, Sarah reached out her hand in a gesture of comfort, the same way she might console a friend. It was instinctual, human, completely natural. Her fingers brushed against Zareth's exposed wrist. The effect was immediate and terrifying. A shock ran through both of them, and Sarah felt something like ice water flooding through her veins. Zareth's eyes went wide with horror, and she jerked back, but the contact had been made. "No," Zareth whispered, her voice breaking. "No. What have you done?" Sarah waited for the pain, for the collapse, for whatever death would feel like. The other Veltar delegates had noticed and were rushing toward them, their faces filled with what could only be described as grief. Seconds passed. Then minutes. Sarah remained standing, breathing, very much alive. Zareth stared at her in complete bewilderment. "This is impossible," she breathed. "You should be dead. Every living thing that has ever touched one of our kind has died within moments. Every single one." Sarah looked down at her hand, then back at Zareth. She felt strange, yes, as if something fundamental had shifted inside her, but she was undeniably alive. "I don't understand." The other Veltar delegates surrounded them now, their voices rising in what Sarah assumed was rapid discussion in their native language. Zareth stood frozen, staring at the human who had touched her and lived. "In 3,000 years of recorded history," Zareth finally said, "no being has ever survived contact with a Veltar. Not the smallest microorganism, not the hardiest plant life, not the most advanced species we have encountered. Nothing, yet you." Sarah flexed her fingers, noting a slight tingling sensation, but nothing more alarming than if she'd touched something mildly electric. "Maybe there's something about human biology that's different." "Or maybe," Zareth said quietly, her voice filled with something that might have been hope, "there is something about you specifically that is extraordinary." Word spread through the research station within hours. The impossible had happened. A human had survived the deadly touch of the Veltar. Dr. Martinez ran every medical scan available, but Sarah showed no signs of cellular damage, no indication of the energy drain that had killed countless other beings. As the station buzzed with scientific excitement and diplomatic implications, Sarah found herself back at the observation deck, looking out at the stars. Zareth had requested permission to remain on the station for extended study, claiming, "This development could change everything for both their species." Sarah touched the spot on her wrist where their skin had made contact. Something had definitely changed inside her during that moment of connection, something she couldn't quite name or understand. But whatever it was, it hadn't killed her. For the first time in 3,000 years of Veltar history, their touch had brought not death, but something else entirely. And Sarah Chun, a human commander from a small research station, found herself at the center of a discovery that would reshape everything both species thought they knew about themselves and each other. The question was no longer whether humans could survive contact with the Veltar. The question was why and what it meant for the future of both civilizations. Dr. Martinez stared at the holographic display showing Sarah's cellular structure, his expression growing more puzzled by the hour. "This doesn't make any sense," he muttered, adjusting the magnification to examine her neural pathways. "According to every test we've run, you should be a corpse." Sarah sat on the medical table, trying not to fidget as various sensors monitored her vital signs. 3 days had passed since her contact with Zareth, and the scientific community was in uproar. Representatives from a dozen different research institutions were demanding access to her medical data. "But I'm not dead," Sarah pointed out. "In fact, I feel better than I have in years." This was true, though she hadn't mentioned all the details. Since the contact, her chronic back pain had disappeared. Her vision seemed sharper. She'd noticed cuts and bruises healing faster than normal. Most strangely, she felt more energetic, as if something was powering her from within. "That's what's so strange," Dr. Martinez continued. "The Veltar energy signature should have drained your life force completely. Instead, it seems to have somehow integrated with your biological systems." Zareth entered the medical bay, moving with her characteristic fluid grace. Over the past 3 days, she had become a constant presence on the station, working closely with the human scientists to understand what had happened. Her people had sent additional researchers, all maintaining careful distance while studying this unprecedented event. "Commander Chun," Zareth said, her translator device now calibrated to convey subtle emotional tones. "My people's senior biologists have arrived. They wish to share their findings." Sarah slid off the medical table, noting how Zareth unconsciously stepped back as she approached. "Even after surviving the touch, old habits died hard? What have they discovered?" "It appears that your species possesses something we have never encountered before," Zareth explained as they walked toward the main conference room. "A type of bioelectric field that doesn't just resist our energy drain, but actually absorbs and transforms it." They entered a room filled with both human and Veltar scientists. The two groups carefully separated by a clear partition that allowed communication without risk of contact. The lead Veltar researcher, introduced as Keeper Thrender, had been studying human biology since news of Sarah's survival had reached their homeworld. "Commander Chun," Thrender's translated voice carried scientific excitement, "your cellular structure contains quantum resonance patterns we have only theorized about. Your neural pathways don't just conduct electrical impulses, they manipulate dimensional energy in ways that should be impossible for biological organisms." Sarah frowned. "I don't understand. Are you saying humans are somehow different from other species?" "Not all humans," Dr. Martinez interjected, gesturing to his own test results. "We've been running comparative analyses. Most humans show some resistance to the Veltar energy signature, but not immunity. You're an outlier even among your own species." Zareth moved closer to the partition, her luminous eyes fixed on Sarah. "There's something else. Since our contact, I have experienced ... changes." This was new information. Sarah felt a flutter of concern. "What kind of changes?" "My people's touch brings death because our life energy is incompatible with other biological forms," Zareth explained. "But when I touched you, something different happened. Your energy didn't just resist mine, it somehow harmonized with it. I can still feel the connection." To demonstrate, Zareth held out her hand near the partition. Sarah, on impulse, placed her palm against the transparent barrier in the same position. Immediately, both women felt a surge of energy. Not painful or draining, but warm and connecting. The monitoring equipment throughout the room began registering massive energy spikes. "Remarkable," Thrender breathed. "Your biofields are synchronizing across a physical barrier. This suggests your neural quantum patterns are actually compatible with our energy matrix." Dr. Martinez was frantically reviewing the readings. "Sarah, your brain activity is off the charts, but in a good way. It's like your neural pathways are processing information at superhuman speeds." Sarah could feel it too. Her thoughts seemed clearer, faster. She found herself understanding complex concepts that had seemed impossibly advanced moments before. "This is incredible," she said. "I can actually comprehend your dimensional mathematics now." Over the following days, more experiments revealed the true extent of the phenomenon. Sarah could not only survive Veltar contact, but actually benefited from it. Each interaction with Zareth enhanced her cognitive abilities, improved her physical health, and strengthened what appeared to be a growing psychic bond between them. More importantly, the effect was mutual. Zareth reported that her own abilities were amplified through their connection. Her natural talents for dimensional manipulation, normally requiring complex equipment and careful calculations, became intuitive and effortless when she was in proximity to Sarah. "We have been studying this for centuries," Keeper Thrender explained during one of their sessions. "Our ancient texts speak of a theoretical partner species, beings who could complete our energy matrix rather than be destroyed by it. We believed it was mythology. But humans aren't just one species to you," Sarah realized, her enhanced intellect making connections at lightning speed. "We're the missing piece of your evolutionary puzzle." Zareth nodded, though her expression was troubled. "The implications are staggering. If humans can not only survive our touch, but be enhanced by it, if we can work together to achieve things neither species could accomplish alone, then why do you look worried?" Sarah asked. "Because my people have made a decision," Zareth said quietly. "The collective has voted to relocate our entire civilization to human space. They want to study this phenomenon, to find other humans who might be compatible with our kind." Sarah felt a chill that had nothing to do with the station's climate control. "All of your people? That's what, several billion individuals? 12 billion Veltar across 47 worlds," Zareth confirmed. "They see this as our salvation, the end of our eternal isolation. But I fear what this might mean for humanity. My people, in their excitement, may not fully consider the consequences for your species." Dr. Martinez looked up from his datapad, his face pale. "Sarah, we need to discuss something. I've been analyzing the energy patterns from your interactions with Zareth. The enhancement effects aren't temporary. Every contact is creating permanent changes in your biology." "What kind of changes?" "You're becoming something new," he said slowly. "Still human, but enhanced in ways we don't fully understand. Your lifespan has likely extended considerably. Your cognitive capacity is now roughly 10 times normal human levels. Your cellular regeneration is accelerated to the point where aging may have effectively stopped." Sarah absorbed this information with her newly enhanced mental faculties. "So I'm becoming superhuman." "You're becoming the bridge between two species," Zareth said softly. "But we don't know what that will cost you or what it will mean for the rest of humanity." That night, as Sarah stood in her quarters looking out at the stars, she felt the weight of her transformation. She could sense Zareth's presence elsewhere on the station, could feel the subtle energy connection that linked them across distance. The enhancement was intoxicating, but it also set her apart from her own species in ways she was only beginning to understand. Communication alert chimed on her personal terminal. Director Walsh's face appeared on the screen, but his usual composure was cracked. "Sarah, we have a problem," he said without preamble. "Long-range sensors have detected a massive Veltar fleet approaching our sector. 300 ships, including what appears to be mobile research facilities and colonization vessels." Sarah's enhanced mind immediately grasped the implications. "They're not just coming to study the phenomenon. They're planning to establish a permanent presence in human space." "Earth Command is in emergency session," Walsh continued. "Some factions are calling it an invasion. Others see it as an unprecedented opportunity for advancement. But everyone agrees that you're at the center of this, Sarah. Whatever happens next, it's going to change everything." As the transmission ended, Sarah felt Zareth approaching her quarters. The alien woman had likely sensed her distress through their growing connection. Soon, Sarah would have to make choices that would affect not just her own future, but the destiny of 2 entire civilizations. She was no longer just Commander Sarah Chun. She was becoming something unprecedented. A living link between species that could either unite 2 civilizations or destroy them both. And she had no idea which outcome was more likely. The war room aboard Earth Command's flagship buzzed with tension as Admiral Harrison studied the tactical displays. 300 Veltar vessels hung in space just beyond the outer colonies, their elegant forms looking deceptively peaceful against the backdrop of stars. "They're not responding to our hails," reported Communications Officer Liu. "They're just waiting." Sarah stood at the center of the room, acutely aware that every eye was on her. 2 weeks had passed since the fleet's arrival, 2 weeks of desperate negotiations and mounting fear. Half of Earth's leadership viewed this as an invasion, the other half as humanity's greatest opportunity. She was the only person who could communicate directly with the Veltar through her bond with Zareth. Commander Chun, Admiral Harrison, sighed, his voice tight with strain. Earth Command has made a decision. If the Veltar fleet doesn't withdraw within 24 hours, we're prepared to engage them militarily. Sarah felt Zareth's shock through their connection before she could respond. Admiral, that would be catastrophic. The Veltar possess dimensional manipulation technology that could disable our entire fleet without firing a shot. Then what do you suggest? The Admiral's question carried the weight of humanity's survival. Sarah closed her eyes, reaching out through the strange energy bond that now connected her to Zareth across vast distances. What she found there surprised her. Not aggression or conquest, but desperate hope mixed with growing fear. They're not here to invade, Sarah said suddenly. They're here because they're dying. The room fell silent. Admiral Harrison leaned forward. Explain. Sarah opened her eyes, her enhanced intellect processing information flowing through her connection to the Veltar. Their isolation hasn't just been psychological. They've been slowly losing genetic diversity for millennia. Their reproduction rates are declining, their population aging without renewal. They see contact with humans as their only chance for survival. Survival how? Dr. Martinez asked from his position at the science station. Before Sarah could answer, alarms began blaring throughout the ship. Admiral, the tactical officer called out, we're detecting massive energy signatures from the Veltar fleet. Whatever they're doing, it's beyond our ability to measure. Sarah felt a surge of power through her bond with Zareth. They're not preparing weapons, she said quickly. They're opening a dimensional gateway. On the main viewer, space itself began to ripple near the Veltar fleet. Reality seemed to fold and twist until a massive portal opened, revealing glimpses of another star system entirely. My God, whispered someone in the room. Through the portal emerged not more ships, but people. Thousands of Veltar in environmental suits, floating in organized formations. Children, adults, elderly individuals, all looking toward the human fleet with expressions of desperate hope. Sarah's connection to Zareth exploded with emotion. Images and memories flowed between them, dying worlds where Veltar civilization was slowly fading. Research stations where their greatest minds worked desperately to solve their species' decline. Families saying goodbye as their homeworlds became uninhabitable. They're refugees, Sarah breathed. Their entire civilization is collapsing. They need us as much as we need them. Admiral Harrison stared at the display, his military mind struggling to process this development. But why? Why are they dying? Sarah's enhanced understanding provided the answer. Because they evolved as half of a symbiotic pair. They were never meant to exist alone. Without their partner species to complete their energy matrix, they've been slowly burning out for thousands of years. And humans are their missing partners, Doctor. Martinez concluded. Not just partners, Sarah said, feeling the full weight of revelation through her bond. Humans are the key to both species' evolution. Together we can achieve things neither could alone. The Veltar gain genetic stability and emotional completion. Humans gain enhanced lifespans, cognitive abilities, and access to dimensional technologies that could transform our civilization. Through the viewscreen, they watched as Zareth's ship separated from the main fleet and approached the human flagship. Sarah could feel her alien partner's determination and hope. She's coming to make a formal proposal, Sarah said. Not conquest, but cooperation, a merger of civilizations. Admiral Harrison looked between the tactical display and Sarah's transformed form. Over the past weeks, her changes had become more pronounced. Her hair now held streaks of silver that seemed to move with their own light, and her eyes occasionally reflected depths that seemed infinite. What exactly are you now, Commander? He asked quietly. Sarah considered the question seriously. I'm what we both could become. I'm still human, but I'm also something new. A bridge between species, proof that evolution doesn't have to be a solitary journey. The docking procedure with Zareth's ship was unlike anything in human experience. Instead of physical coupling, The Veltar vessel simply phased partially into the same dimensional space as the flagship, creating a shared environment where both species could meet safely. Zareth entered the diplomatic chamber accompanied by a small delegation of Veltar leaders. Her appearance had changed as well since their bonding began. Her luminous skin now held patterns that seemed to mirror star charts, and her movements carried a new confidence. "Admiral Harrison," Zareth said through her translation device, "I speak for 12 billion souls who face extinction without your help. But we do not come as supplicants. We come offering a partnership that could elevate both our species beyond anything we could achieve alone." To demonstrate, Zareth gestured to Sarah, who approached without hesitation. When their hands touched, the energy field that surrounded them was visible to everyone in the room. The air itself seemed to shimmer as their combined consciousness reached out and effortlessly interfaced with the ship's computer systems. Within seconds, Sarah and Zareth working together had analyzed and improved the flagship's engine efficiency by 40%, identified 17 potential system upgrades, and solved 3 mathematical problems that had puzzled human scientists for decades. "This is what we offer," Zareth said as they broke contact. "Not the loss of your individuality, but its enhancement. Not conquest, but cooperation." Admiral Harrison stared at the engineering reports flooding his screens. "The improvements you just made. They're revolutionary." "And this is only the beginning," Sarah added, her voice carrying harmonics that hadn't been there before. "Imagine human creativity enhanced by Veltar mathematical precision. Imagine Veltar wisdom guided by human emotional intuition. Imagine colonies spreading across galaxies using technologies that neither species could develop alone." The negotiations that followed transformed the nature of First Contact entirely. Instead of humanity greeting a single alien species, they found themselves at the center of an evolutionary leap that would redefine both civilizations. The solution was elegant in its complexity. Veltar refugees would be integrated slowly into human space, with willing human volunteers undergoing the same enhancement process that Sarah had experienced. These bonded pairs would form the foundation of joint research colonies exploring the full potential of their merged capabilities. Not every human would undergo the transformation. The enhanced individuals would serve as bridges and explorers, pushing the boundaries of what both species could achieve while maintaining connections to their unchanged populations. Sarah found herself appointed as the first ambassador of enhanced humanity, responsible for guiding the integration process and ensuring that both species maintain their essential characteristics while exploring their combined potential. 3 months later, Sarah stood on the observation deck of the newly constructed Joint Research Station, watching as human and Veltar engineers worked side by side to build humanity's first dimensional gateway. The sight still amazed her. People using tools and technology while their Veltar partners manipulated space-time with thought and energy. Zareth joined her at the window, no longer maintaining the careful distance that had once been necessary. Their bond had deepened into something that transcended physical touch, a meeting of minds and souls that enhanced both without diminishing either. "Do you ever regret what you've become?" Zareth asked. Sarah considered the question as she watched a human child and a young Veltar playing together in the station's garden, their combined laughter creating visible patterns of light in the air around them. The next generation would grow up knowing both species as family. "I'm still human," Sarah said finally. "I still laugh at terrible jokes, still cry during sad movies, still get frustrated when technology doesn't work properly. But now I'm also part of something bigger. I'm proof that evolution doesn't mean losing who you are, it means becoming more than you thought possible." Through their bond, she felt Zareth's agreement, tinged with the deep satisfaction of a species no longer facing extinction and the excitement of a civilization on the verge of unprecedented expansion. Together, they watched as the gateway activated for the first time, revealing vistas of distant stars and worlds waiting to be explored. The future spread before them, infinite with possibility, a testament to the truth that humanity's greatest strength had always been its ability to forge connections across any divide. The touch that should have brought certain death had instead